Again, thank you. That's it for my gift presentation. And now I'd love to be able to welcome Christina to the stage to present. Thank you so much. Thank you. You guys gave me a present. You're so fabulous. Thank you, Julie. Thank you, everyone. Listen up, guys. What is going on with the empty seats in the front? Because you all found out yesterday that I don't bite. So anybody, thank you for coming. Come on up here, people. Come up here and bond with me. There's a red, can you all see the red box that I'm standing in front of? There's a red box over here. It has goodies in it. Usually the people in the front are the ones who get the most of them because I can't really throw them all the way to the back. So just letting you know, if you're hungry, you might want to move up, just in case. So now, let's see if you guys learned your lesson yesterday. So you all remember my name is Chris. So let's try this again, folks. Hi, Newfoundland and Labrador. Thank you. You guys are the first audience that has ever given me a present back, which is fantastic. So you've made an impression on me in many ways. You made a huge impression on me yesterday because I could not walk through a corridor in this hotel yesterday or even in the street, like down on, where was I yesterday? Walking from the Ship Inn, back to the hotel. Someone, even on the street there, one of you kind folks, literally just, Chris, big hug. Just random people hugging me everywhere I go, and that is spectacular. So I appreciate that, and a lot of you have said that you have other conferences, you belong to other organizations, and oh, Chris, we want to get you to come speak here, and we want to get you to come speak there, which is great, and I'd be happy to come, but I should make it clear that I don't travel with 875 cupcakes everywhere I go, so if that was your ulterior motive, was that I was going to show up with cupcakes, it's not necessarily in the cards. I brought beer and a jazz band to a conference once, by the way, and they ask me back every year after that. But we did your session yesterday in the morning, and I think even you all maybe couldn't have started the day at 9 o'clock in the morning with a bunch of beer. Could you have done that? I don't know if you could, but anyway, I had a hard enough time getting the cupcakes here. I don't know about getting beer across the border. And in any case, okay, so we're done with that. And so today we're going to talk about how to spend your precious marketing budget. And that's actually kind of a lie. I got you guys here under false pretenses. What we're going to talk about is a little bit more about your overall budget and where your marketing budget fits into that, right? Because it's all related. So we're going to cover some things that span outside the area of marketing so you can see how it all hangs together. So before we get started, I have had a bunch of you ask me at various points throughout the conference, what do you do, Chris? Like, do you just fly around the world and bring cupcakes to people? Like, what do you do? And it's relevant for you to understand what I do and what Redpoint does because it'll show you the lens that we're looking through today for all of the material that's going to be presented so you understand how all that fits into the bigger picture. So Redpoint got its start as a PR firm. And PR, for those of you who don't know exactly what it is, because I've been doing it for 25 years and my parents still cannot explain to people what I do for a living, PR is about image management, and it's about the image that you share with the world. It's about your reputation. It's about the way you connect with people from an external point of view. And PR uses the media, uses journalism, to tell all of those stories, right? So it's a very important part of your image building in terms of what the media are saying about you. So we've done PR for tourism companies. You heard the laundry list of them. Thank you for reciting them again. It was like really reminds me what I've done, so I appreciate it. I'm like, oh yeah, right, Hyatt, remember that? So PR is super important, and your image is shaped by that, and so we got started doing PR for companies. And the more we worked with companies, the more we realized, we sort of dug our hands into it a little bit, the more we realize that a lot of what you do externally is shaped by what happens internally. And that means all of your marketing messages, not just what you share through the media, but all the other types of marketing that you do, all have to be working together in concert. Otherwise, you're putting out messages that are disconnected in various ways, right? So after doing that for a long time and realizing that we're the PR firm, because we started out doing just PR, so we're the PR firm, we're over here, we're doing this thing. And then there's advertising, and then websites existed, because I started doing PR before websites existed, so, right? So then they came into the fold, and then email marketing started coming into the fold, and then there were all these other marketing ways that you can get out to people. Brochures and stuff and social media and all these things happen. So we sort of found that there was a lot of disconnecting going on, and so ultimately, so then we started a division, like an area that does digital and other integrated marketing to kind of fold in so that all the messages that are going out for all of your businesses are working in concert, right? Which is awesome. Then there was something that we figured out after we were doing that for a long period of time, was that there were out there on your behalf sharing these stories with the world and telling everybody how great you are, and that's what's going on in the media. And then people go to your destination, to your hotel, or they take a tour with you or whatever, and what was promised to them in terms of this amazing service and these fabulous things and all these whatever, they get to your property, they get to your business, and the experience is not what they were promised, right? Because the people who are on site are not delivering the experience that you're promising to the rest of the world. Because nobody's promises in their marketing messages, you know, come stay with us, sometimes we're friendly. It's usually like we are friendly people and we have this amazing story and the beds are amazingly comfortable and and then you get there and it's kind of not exactly, or the photo that was online, it looks nothing like the room that you were promised, or you tour people, I feel bad for you, you promise people that they're going to see all sorts of wildlife, whatever, and then they go and there's nothing going on that day and you're like, So yeah, so you have to be careful about all of that. So we then launched a training, education, and guest service division to help make sure that what was being promised to the outside world is actually being delivered on site at the property, right? Because we're a bunch of, you know, nosy entrepreneurs that we are. We were like, all right, well, you can't do that. We're just going to nestle right in there with your business and help you figure out how to do it. And so here's the last thing that we learned, because you can see there's room on that slide for one more circle, one more ring. What we learned is that a lot of those decisions are made at the top, right? So the line managers and the people who are on the ground with everyone and dealing with the frontline guests on a regular basis, those guys want to make change, they want to put in policies, they want all these things to happen, but we can't do that unless the executives at the top are all on board with it. And so then we sort of were like, okay, well, we got to get to the people at the top because they're going to be the ones who decide how the money's going to get spent. Enter the rest of this presentation. How is the money going to get spent so that all of the different ways that we're spending money are working in concert? And that's really important because if you've got money being spent in one direction and then in another area, your marketing over here, your guest services over here, money is being spent in another direction, or maybe no money at all is being spent in that direction, ultimately your business is not going to do well and you're going to be disappointed in your ROI. So looking through all of those lenses is really important and has led to what I look at as my very professional and serious credentials. You guys all know how serious and professional I am. And it's this, which is that I have seen a boatload of dirty laundry at businesses in my time, because when you actually look behind the scenes, and I know a lot of you right now are thinking, because I hear this from people, that like, yeah, that's exactly the same thing. I want to do this, and my boss doesn't believe in it, and we want to do this, and this doesn't happen, or I know we could spend marketing this way. And so looking behind the scenes at the way budgeting happens, most people are doing fly by the seat of their pants budgeting. So if you're doing it that way, you're not alone, and don't feel bad about it, but there are some things that you can do to tighten up the way you do your budgeting to get a greater ROI and to really harness the power of what you're doing. So in all of these things, working with all these various businesses of various sizes all around the world, here's what I've learned. You will never, ever have enough money. You'll never have enough money to do, are you guys clear on that? Because it's in red. Did we not learn yesterday that if I put it in red, it means I really want you to pay attention to it. You'll never have enough money because this is human nature. If you have $1, you want $10, right? If you have $100, you want $200. If you have there are clients that we work with that have, $1 million marketing budgets for one event, right? Which is ridiculous. You could fund feeding a small country for that amount of money, and they're spending it. But when you say to yourself, by the time you pay for fireworks for all these people and fly people halfway around the world for the event and buy Veuve Clicquot for everyone and you do all this stuff, that $1 million goes out the door so fast, and it's crazy. And so it's not a matter of having enough money, and if this is what you want, if this is what you wish for in your budgeting process, you're going to go to bed very sad every night. Because you won't, and that's something that you need to come to terms with. So before we get officially started, I just need to see a show of hands so I can understand a little bit more as I tailor the messages as I go here, a little bit about who's in the room. So for the show of hands, who in the room owns marketing? You're responsible for marketing, but you don't own the total budget. That was, okay. I see yesterday we learned how to say hello. Today we're going to learn how to raise hands. Okay, because I've got this giant spotlight staring at me right now, and so like doing this is definitely not going to work for me. So let's try that again. You guys are the guinea pigs, the first round here. You own marketing, but not the total budget. Much better. Good job, guys. Let's see if the next category can beat you in the hand-raising competition. You set and follow an annual budget. So you actually set a budget, and then you follow it along the whole rest of the way. Here, look, hold on a minute. He's getting a prize because I've never seen anyone actually wave at me from the stage. That was pretty spectacular. Here you go.
I'm the one giving you a ride to Grossmorn too.
Oh, you want him again? You got two prizes? Come here. That's great. Okay. What about you spend as needed and you decide as you go along? Is that a significant group? Okay, that's a significant group of you. No one's waving at me this time around. Somebody in the back. I'll be walking in the back with prizes later. So you personally decide the total spend of your marketing budget. Is there who does that here? Some people, honey, I can't give you a prize twice. That can't be the go-to. You're going to have to do a tap dance or something if you want something next. Yeah. Okay, you're given a number cap. So it's not your budget, but someone tells you could spend however you want to spend it, but you can't go over X. Anybody in here? You're in the front? I like your hand raised too. Do you want some popcorn? What is this? White truffle cheddar. This is popcorn all the way from New York, people. And I did not have to get anybody involved in bringing it here. I brought it all by myself. This is white truffle cheddar popcorn for you. And a hug? Oh my God. Guys, we're going to be here for hours if I hug everybody. Okay. That's from my favorite popcorn bar in New York. Do you guys have a popcorn bar here in St. John's? I think you have a lot of other bars here in St. John's. I'm so happy I found one that you're missing. Okay, your budget changes a lot every year. So one year it's big, another year it's small, and it sort of changes a ton. Do we have anybody in here that has that? A few of you? Okay, great. Over there, excellent. Okay, so here's something you guys should notice about what we've just discovered, is that nobody does budgeting exactly the same. There was not one category that even enough of a majority of you raised your hands for. It was sort of like 14 people here, 8 people there, 20 people here. Okay, so budgeting is not a one-size-fits-all process, right? Which makes it really hard for someone like me to get up here and tell you exactly what to do, because there really is no, one specific way. So I told Juanita I was going to keep it clean, right? On the slide. So why is budgeting so very, very hard? Here are the 3 top reasons why budgeting is so hard. Number 1 is that no clear goals are set, right? So this is like if you're a shopper, you walk into a store and you have no idea what you want, you just want something, and you just walk around and keep wandering aimlessly, and then half the time you end up buying something that you really don't want, and you really didn't have the money to afford, but you bought it anyway, and then you're kind of like, oh, now what am I going to do with this? And on the other hand, though, if you know what you want, you need a black dress for a specific party, it makes it significantly easier to go in and find exactly what you want, right? So that's the story on no clear goals are set. The second one is a refusal to make choices, right, which is huge. And we, as humans, do not like having to choose because we want it all. We want everything. So we see all of these things that are out there and we want to do all of them, right? So we refuse to make choices, and that's another huge reason why budgeting is so hard. And then the last one, which is my favorite one, not so much my favorite one when we're working with clients who are like literally drinking alcohol to start doing their budgeting process, is drama and emotion. There is a lot of drama and emotion. Yes, love? I'm sorry? Oh, isn't that the way budgeting is done with alcohol? Thank you, Newfoundland and Labrador, for giving me my new tagline that I'm going to take with me to all these presentations. Trauma and emotion and alcohol are a big part of the budgeting process, and that makes it really challenging because you don't just sit there and like knock something out. You get there and all of a sudden it's like, I got to do this, I want to do that, I wish I had more money, why can't I do it? And this didn't work last year, or did it work, and should I take it off? And so it's really hard to make all of those choices. So let's talk about choices for a second. The effectiveness of your budget depends on the choices you make, not the money that you have, right? So that's a big headline you're going to learn here today, hopefully learn here today if you didn't already know it, is that budgeting is about choices. It's not about money. So stop, just automatically disassociate money from the budgeting process because that's not the point. So here's why choices matter more than money. Back in the day, there was, let's say you had $15,000, right? So it looks like pre-internet days, 15 grand, and you maybe had a half a dozen choices. I'm paraphrasing, there's probably more than that, but not so many options, right? You had a bunch of options from a marketing standpoint, and you could take that $15,000, and it was pretty kind of easy to figure out, I don't want to easy, but definitely a little bit easier to figure out where that money could go in terms of providing a return on your investment. Now, you have that same $15,000, Canadian. Poor you. Sorry right now. I love you guys, but we have Donald Trump, so listen. So now that same $15,000 is now you're trying to decide between like 170 million things that you could do with it, right? Which just makes it harder. And what the temptation is to say, well, I'm going to put a little bit here, and I'm going to put a little bit there, and I'm going to spend a little in social media, I'm going to do a little bit of email marketing. We don't have money to hire somebody to do social media, but my daughter's friend's cousin's sister's nephew can totally do my social media, right? Because he's on Twitter all the time. Well, what? Right. So these are the choices that we're making in all of these things. So I got a question for you. I'm going to give a prize for this one. What do I got in here? Okay, pure caramel popcorn. I need someone who wants to answer a question for me. Somebody raise their hand because I'm going to give you popcorn. It's not a test, people. It's not going to be hard. We've already discussed it, not bite. Somebody needs to, yes? Okay, good. We're going to go with you. So, what's your name? Terry. Okay. So Terry, I'm going to walk down into the audience so we can get over here close so I can give Terry popcorn. Maybe a hug, because that seems to be the way things are going. Terry, so let's take a look at this right here. So how many of y'all recognize that logo? Pepsi. You guys are so trained. They all just raised their hand on this side of the room. That was good job, people. I don't have enough popcorn for all of you, but I will hug all of you when we walk out the door later. So Pepsi, that's the Pepsi logo. Now in 2009, Pepsi changed their logo, okay? But now pay attention. Don't look at me. Look at the slides, people. Pepsi's logo went from this to this. Now, that cost them $1 million. That was just the fee, the design fee for that logo. They paid $1 million. Now let's look at it again. They went from that to that. And somebody got $1 million to do that. So, right. Terry, yes. Here's the big question, honey. Yes. If I gave you $1 million and said that you could spend it on marketing, would you spend it redoing your logo? You win the popcorn, Terry. Here you go. Terry said no. Good job. Now, why did Terry say no? Terry said no because $1 million to him, I'm making an assumption here, Terry, because of your very smart answer. Terry said no because $1 million to him is probably bigger than any other marketing budget you've ever had in your possession at your business. Am I? A very correct assumption. Are you going to give me a prize? Oh, no, you guys already gave me presents. So, yeah. So Pepsi's marketing budget at the time, their annual marketing budget, was over $1 billion, which makes you not want to drink Pepsi right now, right? Those jerks. So is there anybody from Pepsi in the room that I just totally insulted? I'm going to get kicked out of Canada if, like, Pepsi Canada is here. So that's the reason why, because in proportion, that was petty cash for them. We think it's ridiculous when we look at the amount of money they spent on that, but the fact of the matter is that was nothing to them, right? So how do you choose, right? Because you're not planning on spending that kind of money on things. Does anybody in here have a more than $1 billion marketing budget? Raise your hand. I'm going to come give you my card if you do. No? You're funny. So how do you choose, folks? How do you choose? Sadly, there is no magic bullet for choosing how to spend your marketing dollars. And you can stop looking so sad, because in a minute the story's going to get better. This is why there's no magic bullet, because every business is different from the standpoint of how they will spend their money, right? Personality, risk tolerance, goals, funding, seasonality, the audience you're talking to, the size of your business, right? The location where you are. You guys might spend money a lot differently than people who spend money on the mainland and have just possible drive-to vacations. You guys don't have that. I think at least 37 people have said to me, we're a deliberate destination, right? In the last couple of days. People need to come here, and they need to decide to come here. And we see that kind of thing all over the world, but it's totally different when you're marketing that kind of a destination versus marketing a destination where people might just stumble upon you as they drive by. But one thing, this is where the story gets better. One thing is the same, even though there's no magic bullet, and that is this, which is a North Star. I'm going to come over here and give love to this side. Don't worry, you guys in the back. I'm not going far. So the North Star. You have to align your business with the right North Star. Let's talk about what that is. It's your overall business goals. Your business goals, folks, not your marketing goals, your business goals, okay? So when you figure out what your overall business goals are, and don't be sad if you don't have any, because over 80% of the businesses that we work with, large and small, do not have business goals, like annual business goals. And when I tell you that having those is going to completely, dramatically change the way you do your budgeting process, over time, hopefully you embrace that, and then you will come to believe it. Now, once you have your overall business goals in place, then all of the goals of the various divisions and arms and folks of your corporation, of your business, have to align with that. So your marketing goals, your operational goals, your financial goals, staffing goals, your capital expenditure goals, your service goals, all of those goals need to feed in to what your overall business goals are, and that's going to help make sure that all the money that you're spending is being spent in harmony and providing a much greater ROI for the investments that you're spending. This is 100% step one, figuring out what your overall business goals are. So here's what I mean by that. If you want to be known as an event destination, right, then everything that you're doing in those categories, what you market, what your service stuff is, where you spend your money from a capital expenditure standpoint, right, how you're choosing to spend your money, what kind of staffing you're doing, all of those things need to be driving the fact that you are an event destination. I'm just going to skip right down here. Extending your season, because this is something you guys up here in Atlantic, Canada love to do. So we've worked with a lot of folks who say that their overall business goals are that they want to extend their season. And then what happens? September 15th rolls around, they cut their seasonal staff to like practically nothing, and suddenly like the restaurant's not open, the services aren't open, the shops aren't open, but they want to extend their season. Well, you can't make those decisions and then expect that tourists are going to want to come to you when they get there and everything that you would normally have to offer them is closed, right? So think about it. You say that you want to extend your season. You don't put the money behind it from a marketing standpoint, from a staffing standpoint, from a service standpoint, or whatever. And then at the end of the year, you're like, yeah, we didn't extend our season, right? We wanted people to come here in September, and they're not. Why aren't they coming here in October? They're not coming because you don't have anything really to offer them. And it has to be done in tandem. You have things to offer them and you market it. And you have things to offer them and you market it. And there's going to be a gap of time where you're making an investment in the staffing and the whatever in order to extend your season, where you're making the investment and you're not seeing the return. Because it takes time to penetrate with people what's going on, right? But eventually, you're making that investment. It's just maybe a little bit more of a long-term investment than you had maybe originally anticipated. But ultimately, what's going to happen is that you're going to extend your season. So this is 100% step one, is figuring out what your business goals are, right? So if you're talking about, we'll just stick with that one since we've practically beat it to death at this point. If you're talking about extending your season, and this is something you really are serious about doing for your business or for your region, and then you end up and you go and spend a lot of money on a brochure that really promotes summer, for example, it's not that doing that is bad, but that is not furthering the goal of extending your season. So this is what we mean by choices and making sure that you're being aligned with the goals that you've set. If you don't have any of those goals, then you're just going to keep making choices based on a lot of things like habit and sort of knee-jerk reaction, and this is the way we've always done it before, or this is what seems to make sense. So there's a big headline here, is that this is the real reason why so many companies feel their marketing isn't working, because you're doing tactics, right? You're not supporting overall goals. So the goals are the things you feel in your gut that you want to do, and then you implement a whole bunch of tactics that are not moving you toward that goal. And that, my friends, is like saying that you want to lose 10 pounds and then still eating French fries every day, right? I definitely do that. I don't know how that example just rolled off my tongue like that. I guess that's probably how it came to be. But that's exactly why. You have a goal that you want to achieve, and then you act counter to going on the path to achieve that goal. Okay, so we get asked as consultants for what we call the wrong thing all the time. And the reason why we say that is because we know that these things aren't necessarily furthering people's goals. So here's my favorite one we get asked all the time is, we need a PR program to combat our negative TripAdvisor reviews. And our answer to that is, no, you don't. You need a training program to combat your negative TripAdvisor reviews. Because if we were to do a PR program and send more people to your place so they could all experience crappy service, your TripAdvisor reviews are just going to be worse, right? That's going to be a bigger problem for you at that point. So yeah. Wow. That was great, guys. Yeah, so we need a social media campaign. We want to be on the Today Show. Everybody I know wants to be on the Today Show in the United States. We want to be on the Today Show. And it's like, why? I mean, I think it's great, and there's no harm in being on it. But what's the purpose? So if you want to extend your season and you have the opportunity to be on the Today Show, it's like, well, what do we do with that? Do we promote our summer season? Or do we promote our September season? Do we promote our value season, right? So understanding how being on the Today Show is going to further your business goals helps you determine whether or not you should do it. Because being on the Today Show is not a quick endeavor. It takes a long-term investment on your part. It takes some money on your part. It takes the investment of somebody to beat the door down until they finally get it open. And then let's say you do get it, you're going to have to fly down there and someone's going to. So it's a huge commitment on your part. So if you know that that's something that you want to do, there better be a damn good reason why you're doing it, not just for publicity's sake, right? Because it has to be furthering your business goals. Oh, wait, let me go back to that one. And then we'll get to the drug slide, because I know you're all like, what was that? We want to grow our email list, or we want to have Facebook likes. If I had a loony for every time somebody said to me, oh my God, we want to have 20,000 likes on Facebook. Or we want to have, oh my God, so our goal, our marketing goal is we want to have 15,000 followers on Twitter. Folks, that is not a goal. It's not about quantity. Social media in particular is about quality. Yes, you need to have quantity, because if you don't, like, who are you speaking to on social media if you don't have an audience? But it's really about engagement. You can have 15,000 followers. You can have 20,000 likes. You can have 100,000 likes. If only 0.08% of them are paying attention to what it is that you're saying, it doesn't matter. So it's not a numbers game in that. It's about how is what social media is doing for you, how is that furthering your overall business goals? Okay, drug slide. I'm going to connect the dots here for you folks. So the reason why this slide is up here is because doing those kinds of things, those sort of a little bit goals that are out of alignment, is literally like walking into the doctor and saying, I don't feel well, I want antibiotics. I don't know what's wrong with me. Don't look at me. Don't evaluate me. Just give me drugs, man. Just give me the antibiotics, right? And in some cases, the way that you all are spending money in terms of your marketing budgets is a little bit beyond that. It's like saying, I need open heart surgery, doc. Just give it to me. Lay it on me. I'm sure that that's what's wrong with me. So go ahead and do it, right? And so that's a huge investment on your part that maybe you didn't need to do, maybe you didn't need to spend. So the golden rule of the marketing budget is that it exists to serve its master, which is the business, right? Does anyone notice that they gave me this really nice thing right here to look at my own slides, but I just can't do it? I keep going to this because I like the big screen, because it's, especially when something really important is written in red, folks. Remember, if it's in red, you got to really pay attention to it. It looks much nicer on the screen, so I'm sorry because I just realized I'm giving my shoulder to the people over here. So I'm going to go visit them again over here. Okay, so story's going to get better because even though you guys all can't do exactly the same thing, we're going to give you 10 universal tips for choosing your marketing tactics wisely. Number 1, you guys heard, how many times did I say the word time yesterday? Almost as many hearts were in the presentation, right? So pay respect to time. And so when you're talking about your marketing budget, think about the amount of time that has to be spent for all the various initiatives in your marketing budget, right? So it's this. When you look at every single thing that you do, almost everything that you do from a marketing standpoint requires, at some point in its lifespan, research, decision-making, planning, setup, execution, follow-through, evaluation, evolution. After you have an event, you do an autopsy. Did it work? Did it not work? Do we do it again next year? How do we do it? Half of the time, things land on your desk. Please advertise in our whatever. Please donate free nights to our charity. Please do this. This new website is launching, and we want you to be a part of it, and it's going to cost you $250 or whatever. Somebody has to sit down and say, should we? Because that takes time, right? But if you don't invest the time in doing that, you don't know whether or not you're making the right decisions. So time, and that's why it's number 1 on the list here, time is something that doesn't show up on any spreadsheet, right? So you miss some of those things. So you can have a spreadsheet that looks fantastic. It's totally buttoned up. All the numbers work. It's great. And you've got all these big events in there. And then it comes time to do them. And it's like, you don't have the time to do them justice. Most of the companies that we work with have, like, they have a regular email blast that goes out. They totally forget about it until it's like, oh my God, crap, we got to send that email out today. Someone write it, you know? And that's like the single most important thing you're doing is marketing to the people who've already invested in you, especially up here in Canada. Canadian spam laws that you have up here, which are fantastic. I totally bombed last week. I was in Miramichi giving a press conference, and somebody asked me about the email stuff, and I was like, please, you guys are about to legalize marijuana, and you'll find somebody $10 million for sending spam? I think y'all need to readjust your email priorities on that one. But anyway, yeah, so you're not necessarily paying attention to this very important thing. You're investing time and doing the email, but you're not actually taking the time to plan it and set it up properly, right? So pay respect to time is important. Tip here, do a time analysis for every step of the budgeting process, including execution. Right? Because it's not just about execution, it's about all the things that happen before and after each one of the marketing things. And then make choices, right? Because you look at all of those things and say, okay, we have the money to do these things, but we don't have the time to do all of these things. So let's cut a few of them so that we could do the ones we're doing really, really well, and we could always do the other things next year or next quarter or whatever, right? So make those choices based on time. Number 2 is beware of social media. Social media has made everyone and their grandmother an absolute lunatic, which is totally true, and here's why. Right? Because look at this ridiculousness. I'm at some point going to end up giving a prize to anyone who can name all of those social media channels, right? Because it's pretty ridiculous how many different ones there are. And when these things come out, what happens is that the media and everybody we know sends us into an absolute frenzy. So it's like, oh my God, Snapchat. Should I be on Snapchat? We should be on Snapchat. We should have a Snapchat strategy. And half of my clients that are like, want a Snapchat strategy, and I'm like, You don't even post on Facebook every week. You want a Snapchat strategy? Like, you can't handle a Snapchat strategy, right? So looking at all of these various things, and then you read about it somewhere, and you're like, I need to do that. I'm not tweeting enough. I'm not posting enough. I should do it. But like the thing with social media is that you sit down to do it, and it's a time suck. Social media is the biggest marketing time suck in the history of marketing initiatives, because you sit down to make some posts, and then you read a comment, and then you read another comment, and then you look at another photo, and next thing you know, you're like watching a video of a cat leaping off a printer, and you're like, oh my God, an hour went by. I was supposed to do a post. Like, hold on a minute, let me go back to it. That's what happens with social media, that you get swept up into it. And so we get frenzied about it, and then it's kind of like being like when you go to a mechanic. If you don't know anything about cars and you have to take your car in to get fixed, and the mechanic tells you like, oh, you need 3 new filters, like all you wanted was an oil change, and now it's like $1,500 because he's telling you and you don't know because you're not really informed, so you're like, I better do it because I don't want my car to break down in the middle of a freeway or something like that. And so it's the same thing. People start spending money on this stuff because they don't understand it, they don't understand how it works, and they don't understand how it doesn't work, right? And where it fits in. Now, hashtags. Is this a hashtag loving group up here? The people in Nova Scotia are seriously loving hashtags. I don't know how we did. So I don't know about Newfoundland and Labrador. So hashtags, I know that there are a lot of people in the room who probably don't really understand what they do, because hashtags have become almost like a playful thing. We joke around with them, hashtag this, hashtag that. Do you guys know the universal global sign for hashtag is this? Raise up your hands, do it with me, folks, like this. You could do it. You guys suck at that. Can we try that again? So raise up your hands and go like this, hashtag. Okay, great. So that's hashtags. So hashtags actually have a purpose. They are to track a conversation. They're to unite everyone on social media around hashtags, right? Around a certain conversation. And so like hashtag myHNL, if you want to know what's going on at this conference, you could go to Twitter, or you could go to Instagram or whatever, go to Facebook, go to Google, type in hashtag myHNL, and you can see what everyone's posting, and you can see all the various things that are happening at a concert. Another way that hashtags are useful, I actually have a whole seminar on hashtags. I'm not going to do it today because they only gave me a certain amount of time. But another thing that you do with hashtags is like if you're traveling, if someone's coming up here to Newfoundland, right? So I'm coming to this island for the first time, so I want to know what people are saying about it. I would go and search hashtag Newfoundland on Twitter and see what people have posted. I could get a sense of what restaurants there are. Maybe I do hashtag Newfoundland, hashtag food, and I see what posts are coming up that have both of those things if I want to see what kind of food you guys are offering. Quick sidebar, I got a tour of Big Goods meat section the other day. And bakery section, because I just walked right in and said, can I talk to the guy who runs the meat area? Because I want to learn more about this seal thing that you guys have going on up here. So yeah, so he gave me a whole tour of Big Goods and like taught me how you guys eat seal, and there was like chunks of seal that he was showing. He made me taste flipper pie, which I ate. Thank you very much, as the American in the group. Yeah, thank you. Anyway, I don't know, how did we start talking about seal? Anyway. I asked him if I could make seal bolognese. You guys heard that I'm from an Italian family, and he gave me the like, oh, these American tourists look, But anyway, yeah, so hashtags. So that's the way that you could use hashtags. But the thing is, a lot of people don't understand how they're used because it's been so much fun, right? That people have a bunch of fun with them, and so it became this frenzy. And I want to show you this video just because it's super fun. Probably many of you have seen it already because it's hilarious. But even if you've seen it, you will see it again now, and I know you're still going to enjoy it. And so, hey, Curtis, can you hit me with this, my dear?
Hey, Justin, what's up?
Not much, Jimmy. Hashtag chillin'. What's up with you?
Just been busy working. Hashtag rise and grind. Hashtag is it Friday yet?
Hey, check it out. I brought you some cookies. Hashtag homemade. Hashtag oatmeal raisin. Hashtag show me the cookie.
Sweet. Hashtag don't mind if I don't. Pretty good. Hashtag getting my cookie on. Hashtag I'm the real cookie monster. Hashtag no.
Delicious, right? Hashtag I did it all for the cookie. Hashtag LOL.
Hashtag classic. By the way, did you catch last week's episode of Duck Dynasty? Hashtag quack quack.
Nah, lately I've mostly been watching Netflix. Hashtag Orange is the New Black.
Oh, nice. I've been watching a lot of Barney the Dinosaur. Hashtag purple is the new black. Hashtag I love you, you love me, we're a happy family. Hashtag I'm 38. Hashtag dinosaurs. Hashtag how do they go extinct? Hashtag meteor. Hashtag ice age. Hashtag speaking of ice age, I just watched Ice Age on demand the other day. Hashtag funny. Hashtag Ray Romano. Hashtag Deborah. Deborah. Hey, by the way, Halloween's only like a month away.
I know.
I mean, do you know where you're gonna be at? Hashtag life decisions, hashtag sexy ghost.
I think I'm gonna go as a Ninja Turtle. Hashtag gotta be Raphael. Hashtag Leonardo sucks. Hashtag the turtle, not the Italian Renaissance painter. Hashtag Mona Lisa. Hashtag is she smiling? Hashtag speaking of smiling, I just saw my dentist. Hashtag bling. Hashtag dental care. Hashtag cavity free. Hashtag that's how we do. Hashtag we go hard. Hashtag and we can't stop.
Hashtag we won't stop.
Hashtag we run this.
Hashtag true players for life.
Hashtag is it worth it or let me work it.
Hashtag put my thing down, flip it, then reverse sit.
Hashtag is there Hashtag is there
Hey guys,
Yeah, Quest?
What's up?
hashtag shut the f up.
Yeah. I mean, I couldn't have done a better skit. I mean, you know, I try to rival Jimmy Fallon wherever I can, but that completely sums up what has happened to our society in terms of social media, is that we just make a frenzy out of everything. And so here's the tip pertaining to social media. Chill out, people. You know, chill out, pick your poison. You don't have to be on every social media channel in existence. If you don't have enough time to do them all well, if you do have enough time, then great. But if you don't, pick one, maybe pick two, and do them really, really well, right? Learn about how they work, learn about the benefits of them, learn about the various ways that you can harness more customers through there. Learn about that before you do it so that you can be informed in the way you're doing it, and then really, really work it. And then now we have 10 tips, guys, and that is going to appear at the bottom of every tip slide. So I hope by the end you guys are going to be shouting it out, then make choices, because that, as we heard earlier, is the biggest thing that you guys need to learn today. So number 3, fix the foundation. Shabby tools, that is a highly technical marketing term that I hope you guys were able to understand. Shabby tools. Shabby tools sabotage your marketing investment in perpetuity. So, and you guys are as guilty of this as everybody else in the world, so is not pertaining to you. But at least 10 people handed me their business card yesterday and at the same time said, well, don't really look at my website because we're gonna redo it, right? Or you've got a brochure that you're doing and your numbers change, your websites change, or it's like you have really old photos, but when you hand it out, you excuse it. Oh, these photos are really old, I'm sorry about that. Well, you're not doing your property or your business justice if you're continuing to market using tools that you feel like you need to excuse because they're not upholding what you're supposed to be doing. And so if you only have a limited budget every year to spend on marketing, a portion of it should go toward making sure that your tools are always in great shape. New photos every year, making sure that your website is fresh, making sure that you're updating your Facebook page on a regular basis. These are all marketing tools that are the basis, the whole cornerstone behind everything you're sharing with the outside world. And so that stuff's gotta be awesome because it's your virtual front door, right? And if you don't do that, then every dollar you spend sending people to the website that you have just admitted sucks is not going to, am I allowed to say sucks here? I've certainly said it a lot. Are you guys okay with that? You're Newfoundlanders. I've heard a lot worse since I've been here than that, okay? So yeah, so if you're sending people to a website that sucks, then the dollar that you just spent to send them there is kind of wasted before you even let it go out the door. So here's some of the tips here. Oh, and here's some of the things that we see that are most often. Website, photography, video. Video sells your business so well, but everybody's like, video is super expensive. And video is expensive, but it doesn't have to be. Get yourself a GoPro. God, iPhones take great videos. You can sell your story using video without having to hire a huge videography company, but also hiring a huge videography company is a fantastic investment in tools as long as you're spending it wisely, you know, as part of that process. So staffing and copywriting, landing pages, signage, these are all things that are major parts of your toolbox that are sharing your story with the outside world and making visitors be able to find you and helping visitors love you before they even get to you. This is the pre-selling stuff, right? So you want those customers to be primed to love you the minute they walk in the door. That makes a sale close much faster. So the tips here is that these are not expenses, they're investments. You should definitely have an annual shabby tool budget, which is making sure that you always devote money every year to make sure that your toolbox is fresh. Maybe you can't do new photography every year. Maybe you can't do a new website every year. You should really do one every 5 years, potentially. But so no, you're not doing the same thing every year, but if you're spending a little bit of money keeping your general toolbox fresh in various areas, that will be super helpful for you. So stop resisting and have a little bit of faith there, folks. And then the famous, come on, say it with me, make choices. Okay, for number 4, I need y'all to take a deep breath with me. You ready? Okay, and you can let it out. And here we go. Consciously devote 15%-ish of your marketing budget to things that will not pay dividends until next year or later, and then don't stop. So every year, you're making an investment in things that you are not going to see a return on this year. And this is like the 401k marketing strategy here, folks. Make the investment in the long term because you will need it when the weather is awful, when a recession hits, right? All of those things that you are making an investment in now are going to protect your longer-term brand image. They're going to protect your longer-term revenue, right, which is super important. And they're not things that you're spending to get clients in the door, guests in the door today. You're making an investment in spending money so that your 2 years from now is in good shape and your 3 years from now is in good shape. And if you make sure that you keep around 15% always being spent on stuff and you kind of apportion that in your mind, you don't expect an instant ROI for some of that stuff, and then you're okay with it, right? Which a lot of budgeting is making ourselves feel okay with the choices that we've made. Budgeting requires not only alcohol, as we heard about before, but budgeting also requires a little bit of therapy, right? Because you really want reassurance that the money that you're spending is being spent in a really good way. So the tips here are to adjust your expectations. There are plenty of marketing initiatives and marketing tactics out there that don't return dividends right away. They might return dividends right away. You might get a PR placement in the Boston Globe, and you might get a bunch of calls from it immediately. But you know that Boston Globe story, somebody might save it, or they saw it, and they're going to come visit you next year. That was an investment in your future. Right? That wasn't something that generated anything today. Social media is a long-term hold. Events, trade shows, right? Partnerships. These are all things that you may not see a return on immediately, but they are worthwhile doing. And so as long as you're not spending your entire budget on things that don't return an investment today, it's okay. And you should be feeling cool about that. And then we got to, thank you. Okay, number 5, look past the obvious in marketing. I'm going to just put all these up here at once. So essentially, what happens is a lot of times we just instantly, because we've been around the block for so long, we just instantly know, what it is we're supposed to be doing. Oh yeah, we do these ads every year. Oh yeah, we do these various things. Oh, we go to this trade show every year and all this stuff, right? But if you actually think about it every year, you may not necessarily, those things that you are doing, that you've always been doing in the past, might not be the things that you should be doing now, right? They should be a little bit different. And so, for example, I'll just go through one example here. We had a restaurant client that opened on Long Island and down in New York, Long Island. And so, I mean, please, there's like 100 million people in this little tiny area of Long Island, and they want to get all of these people to come to their restaurant. Even though it was only an 80-seat restaurant, right, it's still required, and there's all these people in the area. There's also 100,000 restaurants every 5 feet, right? So the competition is much higher for this stuff. Instead of doing local ads when they launched, which they were going to do, and the restaurant was a little off the beaten path, I'm sure that's something you guys can relate to. They weren't on any main highway, they weren't near anything else, and doing some advertising wasn't going to necessarily be enough to drive people in the door. But the idea of opening a restaurant and not really doing advertising was just like freaking people out. It was like totally stressing out the owner that maybe this wasn't such a good idea. But what we did do was actually partner the restaurant with Whole Foods, which is big. You guys have Whole Foods up here? I don't know. Yeah, so it's a big grocery chain, an organic grocery chain. This was an organic restaurant. And we partnered them with the Whole Foods that was only 15 minutes away from the restaurant. We had the chef going there every weekend and doing demonstrations, and we were handing out stuff and putting stuff in the people's bags or whatever. Well, all we had to do was basically spend on the ingredients, we spent on the labor for the chef to go there, we spent on, we gave people a discount. So it's like, oh, Whole Foods customer, you saw us that day, come into the restaurant, you get a free appetizer, a free dessert with any entree or anything like that. And that was how the marketing went. Well, they ended up, that's all they needed to do. They ended up getting a super duper loyal client base from just those tactics. The restaurant was filled constantly. They made a ridiculous amount of money in return on investment because we were able to track because of those coupons, and they never spent any money on actual advertising, right? So it was a leap of faith for them to not do any advertising for their new restaurant, but at the end of the day, this was a smarter spend of the money that they were investing, and they didn't have the money to do both. So instead of doing a little bit of advertising and not getting a return and having the chef go to Whole Foods every once in a while and not getting a return, we dominated Whole Foods. And we really worked that market because we knew that their audience was the same audience that we wanted in that restaurant, and so that was where we were going to spend our money. And so there's no rocket science in that. It was simply a choice. And what happens is, as we said before, oftentimes you're faced with that choice and you just don't want to pull the trigger on it. And I was happy to say that they did pull the trigger on it and it really worked out for them. So a lot of these things, it's the same thing, digital versus print, does it make sense? There's a client that we worked with that originally had gone, they used to do those giant thick brochures, like the huge Bibles of all the different tours and things that they offered. And then they did away with it because that cost them like $150,000 a year to do, and they wanted to save that money and spend it on something else. What they found after putting their entire brochure online, because they were a tour company that specialized in student travel, what they found was that their sales dropped tremendously, and after doing a little research to understand why, it was because parents really wanted something credible and tangible if they were going to send their children off with a tour operator. And so actually having that Bible protected the sales choices that their customers were making, and only having a website made them feel a lot more like a fly-by-night agency because everybody knows anybody can put up a website. And as silly as that sounds, just seeing the big fat book gave the parents a lot of confidence that I'm sending my kids out with somebody who's credible and I know is going to protect them and take care of them. So they ended up putting that brochure back into their budget, and they actually ended up doing more of them. And even though that sounds like the opposite of things that people are doing today, it actually increased their sales by a lot, right? So it was a worthwhile investment for them. So your tip, marketing's toolbox has no boundaries. Be creative in your problem solving. Right? Don't just do the obvious. Look past it and say, what are we trying to do and how could we achieve it? And it might not be the stuff that's in the toolbox that you're used to reaching for because it's comfortable to you. You might need to look outside that toolbox in order to make some of those things happen. And then you make choices, in case you hadn't heard that before. Okay, number 6, redefine marketing. Marketing is persuasion and behavior inspiration, right? Marketing is about inspiring people to do what you want them to do. So, yeah, that's a chandelier made out of Barbie dolls. Woo! No, I'll get there eventually. Okay, so I saw the hand over here. Who was it? Come over here, honey. Come here. I don't want to come in here and squish all you. Oh, I could do that. There's room right here. Come here. All right, round of applause for the hugger. Here you go. You guys are such a huggy destination. So here's the question. How do we measure that? Did I just lose my mic? Okay. How do we measure that, right? What's the value of that hug? Can anybody put a price tag on it? I don't have enough prizes in the world if somebody could actually put a price tag on that, right? As we found out yesterday, just because some things can be measured, it doesn't decrease the value of the things that can't, right? And those hugs are worth something. Those virtual hugs, those types of hugs that you give to people, they're really super important. And again, going back to some of the stories that you heard yesterday, you see the return on investment that they actually do bring you, right? So things like that hug are things that are super important to your overall business objectives and to the ROI you get on your marketing budget. But if you're worried about measuring things so much, you're going to omit the hugs because they don't fit on your spreadsheet anywhere. So stop obsessing over measurement. You should definitely measure some things, but stop obsessing over measurement because at the end of the day, some of the stuff that's going to have the greatest impact on your business absolutely can't be measured. So tips here, get comfy with your gut. See the forest and the trees, super important, and have a little faith, for Pete's sake. Have a little faith that all of this stuff is actually going to come back to you in spades because it's super important to your business. And at the end of the day, over time, you will see what a difference it makes in your business. When you invest in your people, right, and you invest in guest service training, and they're out there, maybe not necessarily physically hugging people, although I think probably in Newfoundland and Labrador, they probably are out there physically hugging. If you guys are any indication, they are probably out there hugging people. And at the end of the day, if your people are doing that, then you're going to see how much love is returned to you in your business as well, and nobody would put that on a spreadsheet. You'd look ridiculous if you had a spreadsheet with a line item on it that said love and hugs, right? It would look, I think it would be fantastic. If anybody did that, send it to me because I will put it on the refrigerator at Redpoint for everybody to see for that. And here we go, guys. This is number 10, so give it to me. Fantastic. Okay, so step one on all this stuff is awareness, right? Awareness of the process. So what is your biggest marketing budget kryptonite? When you sit down to think about your budgeting, I don't know if you guys know what kryptonite is. It's the thing that fells Superman in the comic book series, right? So kryptonite is the one thing that can totally stop him in his tracks. So what is your biggest marketing budget kryptonite? Maybe you go too wide and you don't go deep enough in what you're doing. Maybe you're not paying enough respect to time. You're trying to do too many things and you don't have enough time to do all of them well, and so you're not able to convert them into things that are actually useful to you. Maybe you're following the wrong North Star, right? So you don't have business goals lined up. You're following other things or habits or things that are kind of coming up or working out of habit. Shiny new toy syndrome is the first thing that I oversee in marketing. It's like, ooh, that look at Snapchat, I'm gonna go do that. Or, oh, this person over here is doing this thing, I'm gonna go do that. Or somebody started doing photos of these people, I'm gonna go start doing that too. And so you sort of start all of these little things, which is kind of like did you guys see the movie Up? You know, Doug, the dog, squirrel, right? So you see these new markets, it's like the squirrel syndrome of marketing. So you do those kinds of things, and then ultimately it sabotages your budget because you're not sticking with any of those things. You're not giving it time to get traction on some of those things. Then maybe some of you have a rogue CEO. They're famous for sabotaging budget. Maybe some of you are a rogue CEO, for all I know, right? Famous for sabotaging budgets, right? You've got everything all planned out, you're doing, and then one day he wakes up and says, we need to have 100,000 Facebook likes. Go make it happen, people, you know, because I was looking up our competitors' Facebook page and they have more than us, and I want to have more than them, you know. Yeah, so that kind of stuff happens all the time, and then you're all sent off running in another direction because your CEO woke up this morning and decided he wanted to take marketing in a whole different direction. And then another one that's common is rushing to the goal line, right? So not really doing the due diligence in order to make these tactics or initiatives that you're doing actually really successful, like putting in the planning or doing like what I was saying before about like waking up that morning and be like, oh my God, I have to send an email in an hour. Let me just quickly write it up and get it out the door, right? So rushing to the goal line is something that's a huge problem. So other questions that you can ask yourself, I'm going to put this up here and leave it. You guys seem to be really into taking pictures of the slides for your own edification. So here we go. So you can go ahead and take a picture of this. When you are about to go home, it's too bad there isn't a stage right under there because I could like, for you, on the side of the picture. Go home, and when you're about to sort of start your budgeting process, sit down for a couple hours and think about all these things. What's a total waste of money in my budget? Like, be clear, just be super candor with yourself about it. What is a total waste? I've been spending this money for 3 years, and damn it, I'm just not going to do it anymore, right? So what's a total waste of money? Which of your tools are shabby? Or what do you feel like you need to explain to people? My website's awful, or my business cards are awful. If we might have a few minutes. Do we have a few minutes for questions? I'm looking at Juanita. We have a few minutes for questions. Does anybody have any questions they'd like to ask me? Other than, yes? Oh, that's so cute. Can he get it in writing from me that I'll help you? Look, we've already hugged, and I've given you 2 prizes. I think I'm pretty sure that I'm committed to making sure that you've got a good thing. Send me an email, and we'll definitely talk. I don't mind, guys. I'm serious about that. I know it sounds ridiculous that I would stand up here and say to like 300 people, yeah, go ahead, email me, you know, and ask me a question or whatever. But I'm on the road all the time. I take emails from people everywhere I go. You know, hey, what do you think of this or what do you think of that? And I have no problem sharing. I mean, there's no secrets in my job. I'm definitely not one of those people. Redpoint certainly isn't one of those companies where it's like, oh, we get paid for our intellectual property, which if there are any lawyers in the room, you're probably cringing about. But you know what? This is tourism, folks. We're in the business of hospitality, which means we're in the business of sharing, which means we're in the business of love and making people happy. And so if I can help in any way, I mean, God, I'm here until tomorrow. Lord knows we're going to be awake all night tonight, apparently. So come and catch me. Tell me about your business. Ask me some questions. I'm happy to help. But meanwhile, oh, you want to, go ahead, you can clap. So you might want to do that one-on-one, but before we go, does anybody have any other questions they'd like to ask here in this room right now? Is this presentation going to be available on HNL's website? If you're willing to share it, we're willing to post it. I'm willing to share it. Okay. Yes. Yes, it is, folks. Any other questions? Okay. So I don't know if you